Signs that you're on the wrong path and don't even notice. Sometimes the heart feels what the mind doesn't yet understand. Have you ever sensed that something was off, even when everything around you seemed right? That tightness in your chest, that uneasiness, like you're moving against something deeper than yourself? You can't always explain it, but you feel it. And maybe, just maybe, that's not just emotion. It could be God trying to speak to you. There are paths that seem promising at first, full of opportunity and excitement. But over time, a strange heaviness sets in. That's when many people begin to ask themselves, am I really doing the right thing? God doesn't always speak loudly. Often he speaks through silence, through the lack of peace, through doors that suddenly close. Sometimes the signs are subtle, a constant restlessness, a relationship that once brought joy but now only drains you, plans that look perfect on paper but feel empty in your heart. These aren't just coincidences, they can be spiritual warnings, gentle nudges from above saying, this isn't your place. But instead of stopping, we keep pushing. We call it perseverance. We tell ourselves it's just a phase. We silence that inner voice and continue walking. And the longer we resist, the stronger the storm becomes. Not because God is punishing us, but because he's trying to save us. He speaks through discomfort, because comfort rarely brings transformation. Then one day, everything goes quiet. The excitement fades, the strength runs out, the clarity disappears. And in that silence, God waits. He waits for you to ask, Lord, what do you want to show me? Because he never forces, but he always calls. Maybe today is that moment. A moment to pause and reflect, to breathe deeply and say, I want to hear you, Lord. Because even when everything around you seems okay, your spirit knows when something is misaligned. And when you recognize that, the way back begins, not with guilt but with surrender. It's not about starting over, but about starting again with purpose, with him guiding each step. Because the right path isn't always the easiest, but it's the one where peace lives, even in the storm. Some days, life begins to lose its color. The things that once motivated you now feel meaningless. You go through the motions, doing what's expected, but your heart's not in it anymore. That might be a sign, a spiritual one, reminding you that something has shifted. The truth is, you can be surrounded by people and still feel alone. You can hit every goal and still feel empty. That kind of emptiness is the kind only God can fill. It's a quiet ache, one that doesn't go away with noise or distractions. And often, it's the Spirit calling you home. You may be doing everything right, but deep down, you know you're not at peace. The job is secure, the plans are moving forward, but your soul is tired. That tiredness may be a sign, not of failure, but of misalignment. When God is involved, even struggles have meaning, but when he's not, even success feels hollow. Sometimes, you're not far from God physically, just emotionally distant. You're still praying, still going to church, still doing the right things, but your spirit feels disconnected. You've traded intimacy for routine. And in that quiet space, God gently calls again, not to condemn you, but to awaken you. The world says, push through, stay busy, ignore the inner voice. But God says, pause, reflect, listen, because direction doesn't come from chaos. It comes from stillness. And when you quiet the noise, you'll realize he never stopped speaking. You haven't gone too far. You're not beyond repair. If you feel the pull to return, that's grace still working. God's mercy has no limit. The door is still open. He's not waiting for perfection, just for your surrender. So don't ignore the signs. They might be pointing the way out of pain and back into purpose. And when you finally say, Lord, I want to come back, heaven begins a new chapter. Not one of shame, but one of restoration. Because that's what God does. He restores. There are times when nothing seems to go right, and you're left wondering why. Your plans collapse, doors close, and your strength fades. You pray, but heaven feels silent, and in that silence, discouragement creeps in. But silence doesn't mean absence. Sometimes it's how God teaches us to truly listen. God doesn't always answer how or when we expect. It can feel like abandonment, but it's often protection. He allows interruptions to redirect us because He knows where your current path is heading, and He loves you too much to let you get lost without warning. Disappointments can be disguised blessings. People leaving, opportunities slipping away, dreams falling apart. These can all be signs that something was never right to begin with. You thought it was good, but God saw deeper, and He chose to step in. It's only with time that you understand. You look back and thank Him for the doors that didn't open, for the things that didn't work out, because those failures were actually protection. God sees the full picture. We only see one frame. Sometimes you're not just on the wrong path, you're distracted. So many voices, so many obligations, you stop listening. So God shakes your routine, not to harm you, but to realign you. Because when the foundation trembles, truth rises to the surface. True peace doesn't come from everything going right. It comes from knowing you're exactly where God wants you to be. Even when life is hard, your soul is calm. And that calm is the sign, the confirmation, that you're finally walking the right path. So if it feels like everything's falling apart, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's a realignment, a new beginning, a quieter one, a deeper one. And all it takes is one sincere prayer. Lord, I want to hear you again. And He will answer, always. Sometimes losing everything brings you closer to what truly matters. When everything is stripped away, you find that what remains is God. And that's not a loss, it's a reset. There's something sacred about those moments when all you can do is cry out to Him. Not with polished words, but with a broken heart. It's in those raw moments that heaven listens most attentively, because God isn't moved by appearances. He's moved by sincerity. He doesn't want you lost in confusion or crushed by the weight of your choices. He created you with purpose, and if you've drifted from it, He's still calling you back, not with guilt, but with compassion, not with judgment, but with grace. Coming back to God doesn't mean you failed. It means you were strong enough to admit you needed Him again. That's not weakness, that's wisdom, because surrender is the beginning of restoration. And God restores gently, patiently with love. He doesn't rush the healing process. He works with precision. He calms your storms from the inside out. And as He works, peace returns, not because your situation changes, but because you do. You were never meant to carry it all alone. That burden was never yours. And maybe that's what this moment is about, letting go of control and letting God take the lead. He doesn't just want to fix your life. He wants to walk with you through it. If today feels like a turning point, maybe it is. Don't ignore the invitation. Don't silence the nudge. Just say, Lord, I'm here. Speak to me. And from that prayer, everything can begin again with peace, clarity, and a renewed path. You don't have to find your way alone. The way back is always there, and it's paved with grace.